Hey, before we get into the video, I just want to let you guys know that I'll be moving future live streams to Twitch, so if you want to join me there, you can follow at twitch.tv/gillythekidyt. Link will be in the description as well. Hope to see you there. Halloween is almost here, but if you're watching this in 2020, there's a good chance you're probably spending this year getting dressed up to sit on your couch. Since a lot of us aren't going out for Halloween this year, one thing we do have the option to do is fire up a game and spend time in a virtual world, since the one we're currently in is spookier than Halloween itself. Some games even have their own Halloween, so to speak, with levels inspired by the holiday. There aren't too many out there, and I'm sure you've already got a few in mind, but today let's talk about some levels in games that are Halloween themed. Okay, so here's my basic criteria for coming up with the stages I'll be talking about in this video. Now, obviously, they have to be spooky. That one is a given. They have to have some sort of dark or scary aesthetic with maybe some eerie or unsettling music, maybe a skeleton or a ghost here or there. The list of things that fit is honestly pretty vast, but none of those things are exclusively a trait of Halloween itself, so I've come up with one determining factor that qualifies or disqualifies a stage. It needs to feature either one or more jack-o'-lanterns, or at the very, very least, a pumpkin. Though it can't have just a pumpkin, it needs to be spooky and have pumpkin, but no pumpkin, no inclusion. Capiche? Alright, let's go. Real quick, if you like the video, consider subscribing. You probably wouldn't expect it, but when more people who watch these videos actually sub, it helps the channel out way more than a lot of people realize, and a large portion of the views on every video come from people who aren't subscribed. It's also the best way to make sure you don't miss it when I upload new videos if you like what you see. With that out of the way, on to the video. I'm going to start this one off with the one I'm sure most of you already thought of the second you saw the video title. Sonic Adventure 2 has a few different types of gameplay, and one of the main parts of each respective campaign is a treasure hunt for the shards of the Master Emerald, with the hero campaign following Knuckles and the dark campaign following Rouge, but both playstyles are identical. Out of the slew of Knuckles stages in SA2's hero campaign, none are remembered quite as fondly or vividly, not even remotely close honestly, as Pumpkin Hill, a Halloween stage whose background music is remembered as much if not more than the stage itself. Ask pretty much any Sonic fan or anyone who grew up with SA2 and they will know down in Pumpkin Hill is in fact where you find your lost piece. In all seriousness though, as silly as it is, the rap song that was written for Pumpkin Hill is easily one of the most memorable parts of Sonic Adventure 2 as a whole, due in part to just how infectious and catchy it is. Pumpkin Hill itself is a dark, spooky, and desolate area filled with ghosts, graves, jack-o'-lanterns, Big the Cat, haunted trains, and the overall aesthetic and tone in general are pretty eerie. Sure, it's a Sonic game and it can't exactly approach the realm of scary, but there is something unsettling about the fact that this is just a random haunted Halloween area that just seems to exist in the middle of the sky, with no ground level in sight. The actual objective of the level is like any other Knuckles level: collect 3 emerald shards with the help of clue monitors and a hotter or colder kind of radar, but this one has you using Knuckles' glide ability even more so than typically required. Since the entire stage takes place in the sky, multiple structures, platforms, and areas exist in remote locations around the stage that you'll need to either fly to or take an express rocket ride to. Though the rocket does come in handy for quickly shooting you up to the top of the stage, some shard locations really can only be accessed with Knuckles' glide. I've always liked this stage, but it's probably more so due to its theme and aesthetic, because I'll tell you right now, playing it again for this video, the camera is a nightmare to keep in check, and it did make me want to vomit just a little bit. This is present in the whole game, but it's especially noticeable in a stage like this. I can say with full confidence though that almost anybody who has played Sonic Adventure 2 at the very least remembers this stage as a standout amongst the multiple stages in either campaign. And to this day, the music is something that people usually can't help but rap along to when prompted. If you've been around the channel long enough, you may have heard me mention once or twice that my favorite Mega Man game is Mega Man 7 for the SNES. The game does a really good job of taking what the first 6 games established and building on that, all while updating the art style to fall more in line with Mega Man's concept art being much more vibrant and even a bit cartoony. One of the things that always stood out to me about Mega Man 7 are the hidden secrets that can be found throughout the game. They started this trend in older titles, but I don't think they took it as far as they could have until Mega Man X came out, and I think they continued that philosophy when making Mega Man 7, and the stage I'm going to talk about today just so happens to be a prime example of it. Like I mentioned before, for this video, I only wanted to include stages which incorporated a jack-o'-lantern or at the very least a pumpkin, and it just so happens that despite only having one, the jack-o'-lantern in Shade Man stage is a main pillar in how the secrets in this stage are found. Midway through the stage, you'll encounter a mini-boss in the form of a giant jack-o'-lantern that tries to either rush at you and cause collision damage or shoot projectiles from afar. You may not realize this from a first playthrough, but there are are actually two ways to defeat it. Shooting it straight in the eyes causes a path to open up to the right of the screen and allows you to continue on with the stage, which is the spot where the first secret lies. Taking the right path sees you coming across a very unassuming portrait of Dr. Wily. Use Rush's search ability below it though, and he'll dig up the energy balancer, a very useful item which tops up whichever one of Mega Man's abilities are lowest on ammo when collecting weapon capsules. Now back to the mini-boss though. If you instead choose to shoot it only while it opens up, revealing a weak point, defeating it will cause it to crash into the floor in the left corner, revealing a separate bottom path. Now if you don't pay attention here, you can easily miss it, but if you're curious, you'll probably wonder why they added this extra nothing room just for a Sniper Joe. Spoiler, they didn't. Defeating the Sniper Joe and then heading right will reveal a secret room, which, if you happen to encounter the hidden Proto Man rooms in a couple previous stages, you'll get to face off against Proto Man in a fight to prove which brother is actually the strongest. Defeating him awards the player with Proto Man's Proto Shield, which, despite being incredibly cool, is also, unfortunately, incredibly useless. It protects Mega Man from projectiles, but in practice, you're better off just playing through the game with the Rush adapter, and if you've gone out of your way to fight Proto Man, you probably already have that too. Still though, it's a very cool inclusion and something I can't play through this game without getting. In terms of the stage itself, it fits the spooky aesthetic really well with zombie robots, robot knights that if the moon in the background of the stage is obscured are no real threat, but turn into werewolves if the moon is visible, which is some pretty crazy attention to detail in general. And also, I mean, the end boss is literally Dracula, so. Also, there's a pretty well-known Easter egg in the stage where if you hold down the B button when selecting Shademan, the theme from Ghosts and Goblins plays instead of the normal stage music, which is pretty darn neat. This next one is a stage I knew I needed to include the second I thought of making the video, but unfortunately, I have little to no experience with the games, except for the third one. So I asked a friend to come help me and talk about Halloweentown from Kingdom Hearts 1 as well as 2. Take it away, KingK.
Halloweentown has always been one of my favorite worlds in Kingdom Hearts. You know it's going to be one of the better Kingdom Hearts worlds when Sora, Donald, and Goofy get to dress for the occasion. Yoko Shimomura's music here is some of her best work. She literally just created an instrumental version of This Is Halloween, and you can still spot her original touch hidden throughout the instrumentation, especially in the peppier battle theme. Climbing Oogie's tower in the first game is one of my favorite parts of the whole series, and getting to fight the tower is just the cherry on top. The ghosts and zombie designs for the Heartless are really cool, my favorite being the Jack-in-the-Box. I love teaming up with Jack, chasing down Lock, Shock, and Barrel. It does a lot of justice to the movie without necessarily being a line-by-line retelling of it. I mean, the first game doesn't even have Christmas Town at all, and it still manages to be one of the most iconic worlds on offer. You of course get the signature Moonlight Hill area to run around in, the town square and all of its inhabitants are wonderfully realized. Pumpkinhead is one of my favorite Keyblades as well, so it's a terrific reward to close out the world with. Another underappreciated touch are the interactions with Maleficent and Oogie in the second game, where Oogie's lack of intelligence comes into play. I love watching unusual Disney pairings, and Maleficent resurrecting this literal bag of insects has always been one of my favorite interactions. He isn't the smartest bag of bugs around, so of course he went completely off the rails and lost a second time over. I also like how Jack's research into what a heart might need is so wonderfully indicative of his boundless curiosity, while also a genius fit for Kingdom Hearts' narrative. His first thought at the sight of the Heartless is to find a way to make them scarier, because of course, he lives in goddamn Halloweentown. These things aren't gonna faze him in the slightest. It's just such a delight to run around in this world. It's one of the most fully realized Disney worlds in the series, and that's without even delving into Christmas Town.
Since you guys are currently watching a guy on YouTube talk about video games, I'm willing to bet you're probably no stranger to Banjo-Kazooie. It's an iconic game. It was popular when it came out, and probably even more so today. Its legacy is so revered that it's probably one of the most talked about games in the YouTube space. Everybody knows it, lots of people love it, and you probably aren't at all surprised to see that Mad Monster Mansion from Banjo-Kazooie made it into this video. It's a great stage which perfectly fits the spooky Halloween thing. It's dark, it's haunted, there's skeletons, sentient gravestones, a disembodied floating hand that likes to play the organ, a spooky ghost named Napper, and Grant Kirkhope saying, "Thank you." You know, when I first started trying to think of levels that would fit the criteria I set for the video, I thought Mad Monster Mansion wasn't gonna fit. I mean, sure, it's horror-themed and dark and creepy and full of all the spooky stuff you'd expect of a Halloween level, but nothing that said Halloween specifically. And then I remembered the stage's Mumbo transformation. A pumpkin. A tiny pumpkin. A tiny pumpkin wearing shorts and a backpack. How could I possibly ignore this? In Banjo-Kazooie, a lot of stages feature a stage-specific transformation which allows Banjo and Kazooie to complete certain tasks or access areas otherwise inaccessible. In the case of Mad Monster Mansion, Banjo and Kazooie can transform into a tiny pumpkin that allows them to climb through small holes or even flush themselves down the toilet. The music is also very good and fits the setting well, though that's to be expected with a Grant Kirkhope piece. The first 15 seconds of the song actually starts off very differently from the rest of the track, featuring a few short measures with appropriately just an organ and a theremin before breaking into the main melody of the song with more familiar Banjo-Kazooie instrumentation, but still keeping the creepy theme going. Most levels in Banjo-Kazooie are memorable in their own right, but Mad Monster Mansion is definitely one of the standout stages in the game, and to be perfectly honest, I can't tell you the amount of times I've heard the stage's music track featured in the background of a Halloween-themed gaming YouTube video. Mad Monster Mansion is a great stage, and with its setting and music, playing through it is a great way to get into the Halloween spirit. Honestly, the music alone is a great track to play at a Halloween party. And that's all the stages I came up with today. Admittedly, writing this video was pretty difficult, and Halloween-themed stages in games isn't as common as you might think, so if you have any you think should have been featured in the video, comment down below and tell me which one and why. I think these all hold up really well for one reason or another, and I think their respective games would be missing something without their inclusion. Sometimes you just need a little spookiness to mix up even the cheeriest of games, and I think all of these are a great example of that. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it and want to see more, there's a couple other videos right there you can check out. And if you want to see everything I upload, subscribe and then tap the bell icon. And once again, if you want to see when I live stream on Twitch, go to twitch.tv/gillythekidyt. Link will be in the description as well.